Hello guys, welcome to the 12th lecture for Cursor AI for advanced users, and in this video we'll actually talk about how we can use Cursor AI for doing code reviews. At the same time, we'll also talk about something called as rules in Cursor, right? So we have talked about briefly about what rules are. Now we're going to talk about, like, as our project is developing, how these rules can help us enforce a few standards that we should follow while developing our project. Okay, so let's move ahead. So why code review matters? We know that writing working code is not equal to writing good code. Okay, we also know this, that clean, secure and consistent code is equal to maintaining good software. Now, as we know that if you have written some feature, if you have done something, and let's say your team members is trying to review the code and all, and these manual reviews take a lot of time. It has also been observed that in companies, a large portion of the time goes in reviewing the code. Okay, so manual reviews are time consuming, and it often focuses on things like variable name could be changed, or maybe some indentation could be fixed, and mostly the surface level issues are kind of observed while reviewing the code. Okay, now Cursor AI, it can act as a automated reviewer, right? And it can help us enforcing best practices, and it can find those deeper issues a lot early, right? When you're writing the code, and let's say Cursor has generated some code for you, or you have written some code, then what you can do, you can just select a piece of code and then ask Cursor to kind of review it. Okay, so this is why reviewing code matters a lot, and with Cursor AI it gets a lot faster. Okay, now let's move ahead. So what you're going to do is we are just going to jump into the demo with the review part first. So let's go to Cursor, and let's say we actually had one file where we were kind of rendering markdown, right? So render markdown, yes, this one, right? So what was happening is, in this API, if you remember from our app, what was happening is, for example, you can go to create a new blog, and then as you can also open the network tab, right? So let me open the network tab, and let me show you what I'm talking about, right? So if I write something here like hello world, right? So this preview is actually this. Look at this. This is making like tons of API calls just for rendering this part, right? Just for rendering this part. So this is a lot, right? Like 11, I think 12 API calls just to show the preview of these two words as a markdown, right? So this is a lot, and that's why we should kind of maybe work with Cursor to kind of review it, and maybe give me a better workaround for this, right? Review this performance, like, is this performance good? It is making 12 API calls, and let's just check like what Cursor is kind of advises us. We are not going to make this change, right? And we're going to just ask Cursor that, hey, what do you think? Like, what could be better here? Okay. One way to think about this is like, maybe if we had a client side library only, right? We just send the library back to the client, and then the client will basically be generating this on the go. We don't have to make that call to the server for generating the preview for this. Okay, so let's go back and let's talk about this. So we are gonna select this one. I think this is not this one, render markdown. Yeah, this is the render markdown. We are gonna say add to chat. And now we're going to say this, okay? So we're going to say review this because it's making like 12 API calls for generating the markdown for for 12 letter sentence, right? And sentence, it's a lot, and I think it could be improved, right? So just small things, and I'm not going to do the agent mode. I'm not going to implement it. I'm just going to use the ask mode, and can you suggest some ways to improve this, right? So I'm just going to ask, use the ask mode from Cursor, and basically tell that, hey, look at this code. This is making a lot of API calls, and can you please suggest me how we can optimize it? So Cursor has actually done something. So let's see. So debouncing is one of those things. The most effective solution is to add debouncing to the API call until the user stops typing. This is one way. Client-side rendering, this is what I was talking about. Like this entire render markdown code that we have in the server, we can just put it on the client side, right? So this is another way we can do it. or caching strategy. This is another thing. So yeah, so basically Cursor was able to give you like multiple approaches to fix this issue that we are facing right now, right? So this is one way of reviewing your code, and then basically maybe you can take one of the strategies and ask Cursor to maybe implement a client-side thing, or maybe the debouncing one, or whatever you want, right? So this is how we can go about reviewing our code, and you can definitely check for other some database calls that are happening, maybe check those for performance issues and all those kinds of things. Okay, so this is okay. Now we're going to do some the other part. Now we're going to talk about the rules in Cursor. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, before talking about rules in Cursor, let's do some setup. Okay, so what we have is, if I go to my Flask env, this is where all the environment variables are kind of getting set up, or basically initialized, right? So I'm going to copy this one, right? And actually I'm going to search for this one first, and I'm copy this, and then what we're going to do is, we are going to have this key somewhere in the code lying around, which is very bad, right? If you commit this code to GitHub, then what will happen is everyone will be able to see your API keys, right? So what we're going to do is, we are going to actually let's check this one. Actually here also we can do, right? So here what we can do is, we can actually just, so for example, this get env is kind of basically loading my values from the Flask env file, right? So what we're going to do is, we're going to actually paste the key here, which is bad, right? You should not post this kind of stuff or keys directly into the code files, right? Flask env is something that we are not committing to GitHub, but yeah, these are the files that we are actually committing to GitHub. Okay, so now that your setup is done, what we're going to do is, we are going to use rules to dictate Cursor that, hey, never allow these environment variables values lying in the code. This is something we should not do, and it will make our code more secure, and quality wise also, a project will be better. Okay, so how do we enforce this? This is the main question. Okay, so what we're going to do is, we're going to go to settings, right? And then we're going to go to rules and memories, and then this is where we can add a rule, right? So let me call this, just call this project rules for now. And the moment we create it, right, what happens is, it actually creates a .cursor directory inside this one rules. And here basically you can define all your different rules, maybe in different files, or maybe just inside one file. We have already talked about this in a beginner course actually. So yeah, not going to do much here. So we can say my rule is check for keys lying around in code, and make sure that no keys are checked in inside code files, right? Code files. Yeah, so this is good. And now what we're going to do is, we're going to actually go to agent mode, right? And we're going to say the prompt is, I have written the prompt actually already, so let me go back there, and the prompt is this, right? Please go to the full project and verify that it complies with the defined rules and standards. And defined rules and standards are where it is coming from, these files, the files inside the .cursor rules directory. Okay, so let's go back and let's go here, and this is basically the same slide as that one, right? So I'm going to go here, I'm going to copy my prompt, right? So I'm going to copy this prompt, go to Cursor, paste it here, and then I'm going to press just enter. So basically it is going to go through the full project and verify that it complies with all the rules and standards. For now it will do the keys part, right? So yeah, let's check. So yeah, it's actually check for hard-coded secrets and API keys in all code files. This is what we have defined in our rules. So it is gonna check that. So it's actually let's check where it is found. How do we open this? Let me check. Open it. Yeah, so it's actually found it here in config.py. So I'm going to just open this config.py, and this is where we actually made this, right? This is where we actually added key, and Cursor was so able to smartly identify this. So we are going to say keep it. So it is not going to, it's going to make sure that you don't have your keys lying around in the code actually. Okay, so other things are fine. So even if it does that, I'm not going to bother much about that. So let's check. Actually, my keys in the env file is fine. So I'm going to undo this. Right, so this is okay, and even it is finding all the debug statements that should not be there, which can be removed. So that is really good. And Let's check the routes py. What do we have in routes? Routes py, which route is this? So basically I think, yeah, see, this even these logs are not necessary, right? So it is cursor kind of is helping us in removing those logs as well. I think while debugging we added a lot of logs, and cursor is kind of very smartly able to do this, right? So let me run this, and oh sorry, what it did, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so let's run this, and even it has figured out like what permission should be there for the Flask env file, right? Should use others when if it is hacked, should not be able to writable by others. So yeah, a lot of steps were done, and it has made the compliance checklist as well, like what things it has changed. And this is a good thing to talk about, right? Like what fixes it has done from the point of view of security and quality and all those stuff, right? So that is it for this video, guys. This was very interesting, and security is very important when you are building it for production and for customers. You should not compromise with that, because that is going to be a dent in your image as well. So yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.